Hello, family, friends, and fans. I'm Fletcher Rhoden, and this is Fletcher Rhoden's Medellin Diaries. It's a mini series based on my adventures and misadventures in and around the city of Eternal Spring. That's Medellin, Colombia, once known as the most dangerous city in the world. Now it's quite well visited and very nice. But there are pitfalls that you might stumble into, as I might have done. So let me enlighten you with my experiences so that you can have a better time when you come here. The first three uh, installments of this miniseries are already posted and they're up so you can see them. But let's move ahead. This is the Puerto Rico edition of Fletcher Rhoden's Medellin Diaries. Okay, so why did I go to Puerto Rico? Well, a lot of people go to Puerto Rico for a lot of reasons. The main reason is I had to bug out of Colombia for a brief period, and here's why. I'm here in Colombia for 6 months. But you're only allowed to stay in Colombia for 90 days at a stretch before you got to leave the country. You can do, in any one year, you can stay 180 days, but you can't stay 180 consecutively unless you get this extension. And if you do that, then other Latin American countries will consider you having been a resident of Colombia. And if you want to get a visa in one of these countries, Uruguay, let's say, you got to get a criminal background check from Colombia. And it's a beautiful country, and I've had a great time. The people are fantastic. But I understand that the bureaucracy is very uh, slow and difficult to negotiate. And once you've been here for 180 days, you can't just fly back for 3 days and pick up your criminal background check because you've toasted your welcome for a whole year. You got to wait 6 months before you can come back and pick up the document, which I think has to be. I don't think they sent it. So it just became complicated. And the idea was take a vacation in the middle of my Medellin experience, and that was going to be Costa Rica. However, take notes on this. Costa Rica requires a yellow fever vaccine, which I got the vaccine, but you have to have it 10 days before you depart. 10 days before you arrive, let's say, to Costa Rica, they want to see your yellow fever certificate, and it has to be dated like 11 days previous. And maybe they were going to overlook it, maybe not. I don't know. They didn't. I came from Ecuador to Colombia, where supposedly you're supposed to have that certificate. They didn't ask for it. But I did not want to be in Costa Rica in the airport, not even in the terminal, just in the immigration station, whatever that is, not allowed in, refused entry. Didn't want to do that. But I still had to leave Colombia anyway. So I decided I canceled my plans for Costa Rica and I got almost all the money back. Not all of it, but most of it got rebated. And I picked the next closest place that would allow entry without having a yellow fever vaccine, even though I had one, but it wasn't. So I picked Puerto Rico, which was fairly close geographically, not too pricey in terms of the flight. It's pricey once you get there, but I had to go somewhere. So I made plans on the fly, which I hate to do. I always like to do these well in advance. This time it was the night before. I'm getting a rebate. I'm talking to Expedia, and they were very helpful. It's miserable. So I get a flight to Puerto Rico for the next day, which I had to do. I had to go somewhere. Then I got a nice bed and breakfast type thing on the north coast of the island, which looked like it was going to be a beautiful seaside place. However, here's something else you should take note of. It wasn't a hotel. It was like a personal rental, and these people aren't easy to get a hold of. They say get a hold of them at least 24 hours before you leave, but I didn't make my reservation until within 24 hours of my arrival. So there I am trying to get in touch with them, saying, "Hey, I'm going to be there. Where do I go? Well, is there a code? Is there a key under a rock? What's the deal on this place?" So I didn't get an answer back. So I had to get a hotel by the airport in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and that is tourist trap city. Uh, they, if you want to know what happened to the Pirates of the Caribbean, they're still there. But I got a hotel for 2 days, Coral by the Sea, which is aptly named because it's not by the sea, or it's not. at the sea. It's by it by a few blocks, but it was all right. Very cheap, very poorly, very nicely run. The people were very nice. Staff was very nice. The carpets filthy. Okay, not a elegant place. If you're taking someone who's a romantic interest, this is not the hotel for you. But it was fine for me for 2 days while I worked out where I was going to go because I wasn't hearing back from these people that I had paid to go live in the thing. And also, transportation in Puerto Rico. Forget it. They tell you there's a bus. There are buses. You can take a bus. Okay. But and I thought, well, I could take a bus from San Juan to this area, Aripo, where I was going to rent the place. But there wasn't a bus. There wasn't, and the taxi was going to be, or the Uber was going to be $200 each way. So that all of a sudden I'm hit with a $400 price tag just to get to where I'm going. And so I asked the lady at the airport information office, not just some lady wandering around the airport, but a lady at the information office. I said, how do I get from here to Arepo? And she said, it's going to cost you $200 for taxi. However, she says you can take a public bus from San Juan through the interior of Puerto Rico to Ponce. And from there, you can take day trips to different places, and it's right on the southern coast, and it's nice. And the bus costs $20. So I thought, okay, that's not bad. I'll book a hotel for almost 2 weeks there, and I'll take a bus down. Okay, bad idea because there is no bus from San Juan to Ponce. There isn't one. There isn't. I got all the way to the bus terminal with all my stuff, and they're like, "Well, we'll take you down the block." I said, "Well, if the block runs all the way across the island to Ponce, fine." They didn't think it was that funny. He really isn't, because there I am, and some guy starts to bother me, and I'm like, "Will you leave me alone?" And he says, "What are you, a tough guy?" I'm like, "Look at me. I'm sitting out in front of a bus station at 8 in the morning with my cell phone in my hand. Do I look like I want to talk to you?" Anyway, so I get a cab driver. He'll drive me down. My Uber isn't properly set up because it's been a long time since I've used it, and Lyft is out. So a taxi guy charges me a buck 65. I know it's a $125 fare. I know it is because I looked into that. Across for going down to Ponce. He wants a buck 65. I give it to him. I gotta get there. So I get there. Ponce is it's a colonial little Caribbean town with lots of those colorful buildings, and I was in a hotel that was like a part of the main square. There's a big cathedral, there's a fountain, there's some statues, it's a park, and around the park are restaurants and hotels. So I got a place that was there that was I'd taken a bite on some of my Costa Rica money, so I tried to economize on this. I wasn't going to impress anybody. I was just going to duck out and see the Caribbean. So I got a place at the Fox Hotel, FOX Hotel, the Fox Hotel. And it's not that the people there weren't nice, and it's not that they didn't try, but this place should not be a hotel. Okay, it's set up as a modern day party palace, karaoke and a bar and sushi bar and this and that. But it's basically just a video arcade on the first floor. And it originally was a theater, a live performance theater. And before that, it was, I think, a movie theater or something. And then it became a hotel. But the operative thing is that there are no windows in any of the rooms. All of the rooms have no windows. Okay, so the first room they put me in, and I was going to be there for 12 days. So the first room they put me in it was pitch black. When you closed the door and turned out the light, pitch dark. No hot water. There was no hot water. I mentioned it. They said they'd fix it. Then they said there wasn't a problem. Day in, day out, there was no hot water. And it was a dark, airless room with no light. All right, not good. Luckily, I had my music. I brought my Mac. I wasn't going to bring any computers, but I decided to bring my Mac because I'm working on some music, and I felt like I might need a distraction, and boy, was I right. So for a week in the Fox Hotel, the food is microwaved. I don't eat sushi. The bar appetizers looked microwaved to me. The It's all dark. It's all done in this postmodern thing where like pictures of Marilyn Monroe on the walls and Marlon Brando and that kind of 50s iconography. But there was also a Charlie Chaplin, and the Charlie Chaplin didn't have the little mustache. He had the long mustache. Like they couldn't give him a Hitler. Anyway, so this was terrible. Okay, the people at the Fox Hotel are nice. Look, if you've got kids and you're only going to be there for one day, fine, but don't hunker down there. It's geez, it's a bunker. They moved me from one room to the next, and this next room had glass bricks, three glass bricks. Those glass bricks that light can shine through, but you can't see through them. So the next room I got there were three bricks in the wall, so that at least there was some natural light. Otherwise, still terrible and still no hot water. So then they gave me a rebate, though. They were cool. They gave me not a full rebate, but a partial rebate on the expense of the rooms, and they moved me to a different hotel owned by the same company called the Melia, Melia. Same square, but different block. Much nicer, much more elegant. If you're adults, if you're traveling with someone whom you want to impress, go there. Just go to the Melia. It would have cost a lot more than the Fox Hotel, but I didn't have to pay the difference because I suffered for 7 days. Not that the Fox Hotel is terrible, but it's not. I can't recommend it. I by far recommend the Melia, which the staff was cool, was very elegant, very nice. But in general, Puerto Rico, can't recommend it. It was nice to see the Caribbean. Always wanted to see the Caribbean, so check that one off my list. Probably don't have to do a Jamaica trip now because that's going to be the same thing. The operative deal here is if you like, if you've got a nice resort type hotel, then Puerto Rico is going to be great. Or if you're a surfer, or if you've got an Airbnb where they'll actually answer the phone or answer your emails, or if you do it well enough in advance so that you can be way ahead of the game on these plans. But Puerto Rico is hard to navigate. Nobody knows what's going on, not even the people at the airport. There is no bus, no public transport from San Juan to Ponce. There isn't. This is 2025. Don't let anybody tell you that there is, not even the lady at the information airport office, at the airport information office. Even she gave me the wrong deal. All right, the Coral by the Sea. People are nice, location's all right, but it's just outside of the airport. San Juan is just Los Angeles on the Caribbean. Who needs that? And again, if you're spending $600 for a nice resort, that's fine. But then you're just visiting the resort. If you go to Sandals in Jamaica, you're just going to Sandals, and it just happens to be in Jamaica, and it'll have some decor that is appropriate for that. So, I'll stay home and listen to Bob Marley. I think that's fine. But it was nice to see the Caribbean. The Caribbean Sea, beautiful, warm, clean, awesome. Best sea I've ever seen, and I've seen most of them. Um, Not most of them. I think I've seen half of the great seas, maybe more than that. But Caribbean Sea, beautiful, great. Um, the businesses are they're either American chains like Church's Fried Chicken or McDonald's or whatever. There are some touristy places to eat and drink. They tried to rip me off. One place tried to rip me off for $10 on a $10. I ordered $12 ribs and fries, and they tried to wind up charging me $20 for that because they looked at me and they said, look at this middle-aged moron gringo coming down the pike. Let's just figure he'll say fine and toss over the card. Come on, it was on a tip scheme. Uh, Very bad. The cars. Uber is reliable. Use Uber if you're going to get around Puerto Rico. Don't count on a bus. Stay away from the Fox Hotel. Malia, very nice, but Ponce, really nothing there. It's all half the stores are closed. They had an earthquake there several years ago in 2017, I think it was, or 19 maybe, and they just haven't recovered, and they're not going to. There was an open air mall around the corner from where I was staying where there would have been shops open and people walking and children laughing and balloons, but there was nothing. All the stores were shuttered. They were all closed. It was like a dead mall, which is exactly what it was. It wasn't like a dead mall. It was a dead mall. And it was the center of town. That was where the plaza where I was the central plaza of town. And these other things, tourist traps. I'm coming to see a tourist trap a mile away, and Puerto Rico is itself a tourist trap. That's what it was originally. For the pirates and for the British and for the Spanish and the French, it was basically a stopover. It was, you know, Pirate Island is what it should have been called. It's called Puerto Rico. That means the rich coast, but it really should be called Isle de Boucanier. So nice to have seen it. Glad I went. Strategically, it was smart to go. I'm glad I'm back. It was not relaxing, but it could have been if I had $700 a night to spend. But I didn't. I don't. I don't have that kind of money. It wasn't that kind of vacation. It was a strategic move more than it was a splurge. Oh, my big vacation for the year. It wasn't that. I kind of live on vacation. So it wasn't one of those dream of a lifetime vacations gone wrong. It's just, it's got a lot of complexities and a lot of clumsiness if you're going to navigate the island. The island, by the way, is almost entirely uninhabitable. It's all lush rainforest, and there's no way you can develop there, and nobody would want to. There's a highway that runs north and south. There are a few communities there. I wouldn't want to live there, honestly. To live in Puerto Rico and not be on the coast, that doesn't make sense. And Ponce, not on the coast, close to it, southern rim, not within sight of the beach. Awful, bad hot water, unreliable. Um, I wish I could recommend it more, but I can't. But there are some good things about it. Beautiful sunsets. It's very tourist trappy though, and and way overpriced. It's an overpriced ghetto, honestly. Which isn't it funny how a lot of places you go to in the world as tourist spots are really overpriced ghettos? Las Vegas, overpriced ghetto. New York, overpriced ghetto. Los Angeles, Hollywood, overpriced ghetto. Uh, you know, Medellin. I mean, it cost me twice, almost twice to live here as it cost me to live in Cuenca, um, which is not an overpriced ghetto. It's a moderately priced ghetto. But a lot of places you go, it's just like, why am I paying a fortune to see where people, to see squalor, kind of. And that's the way I felt about Puerto Rico. But it is a U.S. territory. You can always duck out to Pirate Island if you need to. If for some reason you get refused entry somewhere, you can always duck out to Coral by the Sea on Pirate Island for at least. It's not, the airfare isn't going to be too exorbitant to get there, and for $1.37 a night, Coral by the Sea is about as good as you're going to do, and it's fine if you don't have super high standards or if you wear slippers. So that's pretty much what I can tell you. Glad to be back. Hope this was helpful. Stick around. I'm going to go to Guatapé soon, and that'll be another edition of Fletcher Rhoden's Medellin Diaries. Until then, I can let you go. Hope this was helpful. It was for me. Cathartic, mostly. Stick around. Listen to my new album, City of Eternal Spring, inspired by and produced right here in Medellin. And check out all my other videos. I've got 2 regular shows running. One is called Fletcher Rhoden's Pet Peeves, and one is called Quotes and Quips with Fletcher Rhoden on this very YouTube channel, different playlist. Check them out. Thanks for watching. Tune in again, and until then, bye, Mary.